What is going on, guys, and welcome back to another Skyforge video. I'm Crazy Pickle, and today we're gonna look at the next class, which is the Revenant. So we're gonna go again over the abilities. I will showcase them, each ability, and yeah, class symbols, weapons, etc. Alright guys, let's get started. And the first, again, we're gonna start with the basic attack, which named Slashing Blow. Alternating X blows, which deals X amount of damage to the enemy and slow them down for 3 seconds. The Revenant's other attacks enhance the next 3 cutting strikes, allowing them to restore energy and reduce the remaining cooldown of Death Steward, which is your ultimate ability, and Embrace of Pain by 1 second. The third strike will inflict 200% more damage. The third enhanced cutting strike activates Companion Attack. Next ability is the Destruction. Takes a few seconds to prepare for a powerful blow which deals X amount of damage to the enemies in the front of the Revenant and knocks them down. While the attack is being prepared, the Revenant can move forward at reduced speed. Dehydration drains the target's life force for 3 seconds, dealing X amount of damage every second and pulling it to the Revenant. After 3 seconds, the target will be knocked down. Each second use of the ability may restore 30% of the Revenant's health. Slaughter strikes with the axe in an 8-yard radius around themselves, dealing X amount of damage to enemies and slowing them down. The damage is increased by 33% for each affected enemy beyond the first one, up to 100% bonus. Cutting Strike has an 8% chance to reset the cooldown of the Slaughter, making it free and instant while also boosting its damage by 100% regardless of number of affected enemies. Punishment inflicts X amount of damage to the target. If the target has less than 50% health left, the damage increases by 100%. A successful finishing ability will reset its cooldown and transfer a certain amount of health to the Revenant, which depends on the defeated enemy. Also activates the Companion Attack. Embrace of Pain turns all incoming damage into healing and protects from control effects during 6 seconds. When the effect fades, all enemies within 12-yard radius are horrified for 3 seconds. Gloomy Shadow. The Revenant launches an illusion in a selected direction that moves forward 40 yards. When activating the ability again during an active illusion, the Revenant leaps towards and deals X damage to all targets in 6-yard radius, hammering them into the ground. The ability deals 400% more damage if the illusion has lasted at least 1.5 seconds, and the target has not been hit by Dark Shadow in this fight. Ultimate ability Death Steward. The Revenant summons a deadly aura with a range of 10 yards for 12 seconds. Enemies in the area are slowed and take damage over time. The Revenant is immune to control effects, their health is increased by 70%, and their axe attacks deals 30% more damage. Energy regeneration is increased by 200%, and the cooldown of all attacks is reset. Absorption, which is the finishing strike, inflicts fatal damage to the enemy, available when the target has a small amount of health left, increases damage dealt by 25% for 12 seconds, fully restoring the energy and resetting the cooldown of abilities that consumes energy. Moving on to the talent. Call of the Torment. Dehydration also works in monsters around the target. Inspiring Power. The Revenant duplicates the strongest aura of a support class character within 40-yard radius. Allerium 9 talent Deadly Crescent. Punishment deals 100% more damage to enemies with less than 50% health. Using improved Slaughter resets the cooldown of punishment and makes the next use of the ability free. And PvP abilities is going to be the same. It's both same sets for PvE and PvP, so we don't have to go over that. We're just gonna moving on to the class symbols. And the first one is the Hymn of Death. For every fallen ally within 40 yards, damage from the Revenant's class abilities is increased by 5% and their defense by 2.5%. Next one is the Show of the Strength. After moving to the Gloomy Shadow's position, the Revenant will create a rift on the ground with their next strike that exists 8 seconds. Inside the rift, enemies takes X amount of damage every second. And the last one is the strategy. Extends the duration of Death Steward by 2 seconds every time an enemy dies in a deadly aura's area of the effect, or if they do not leave it for 6 seconds. The ultimate ability can be extended by up to 6 seconds. Alright, now let's talk about the weapons. There is 3 kind of weapons. First one is the Nergal Plague Incarnate. Dehydration is used instantly, pulling the enemy closer and knocking them down, dealing X amount of damage to them. Each second use of ability may restore 30% of Revenant's health. For each enemy affected by destruction, slaughter, punishment, and the Death Steward aura, the Revenant gains a harvest effect, which speeds up the recovery of dehydration by 1 second and increases the damage of its next use by 10%. You can accumulate up to 10 harvest effects. Next weapon is the Hakar Eye of the Storm. Dehydration has a 50% chance to replace the next destruction by an axe throw, dealing X amount of damage to all enemies in the way. And the last weapon is the HYLO, the Reaping Thorn. Gloomy Shadow and Dehydration leave shadow spikes on the ground. Destruction detonates all shadow spikes in its area of effect, inflicting X amount of damage in a 7-yard radius of each spike. So again, 2 good weapons just for the Revenant at the moment is the Gorgonite weapon, the Plague Incarnate, or the Demon one, Eye of the Storm. The Eye of the Storm was actually nerfed pretty long time ago, so it's not as good as it was before. And again, it's only with like a 50% chance to get that axe throw proc, so I would definitely say the Gorgonite weapon, the Nergal Plague Incarnate, will be the best weapon right now at the moment for the Revenant, for both PvE and PvP. I mean, you get that 10% damage boost to your dehydration, and if I'm right, then it's 10 stacks. It should be additional total 100% damage when you use the dehydration with the 10 stacks. And of course, it's kind of pretty easy to get those stacks by just using any other abilities. Applies 1 stack, and of course, when you use your ultimate ability, it actually gives you those stacks faster. Plus, if you combine with the rest of the abilities, because you have no cooldown on abilities during your ultimate ability, and you restore energy way faster, then you get those 10 stacks in no time. Of course, in between, while you're waiting for your ulti, it might be a little bit challenging, but still, it's a pretty good weapon to use for both, and it definitely deals a lot more damage right now than the demon weapon. Alright guys, moving on to the next part of this video. Alright, Revenant. So let's talk about this class a little bit. I've already just went through abilities, class symbols, and weapons. If you have any question about it, again, leave the comments in the comment section down below. But yeah, Revenant is the first class, at least for me, the new class that was released in about 2017. The very first class was actually Outlaw, but it happened before I started playing the game. So Revenant was the new release class for me, and I guess the people who started at about the same time that I did. It was a really overpowered class for sure, and it went through a lot of changes due to overpower. Of course, it has to be nerfed at some point. It was really easy to do a lot of content just as Revenants, so you can have just basically like 3 supports in your group or 2 supports in your group, tank maybe if needed, and then the rest of it is just Revenants, and they just annihilate everything. And just like I said earlier, of course, the class went through a lot of different nerfs, a lot of different changes. I think right now it's slightly, lacking, in order of doing like a end game stuff. For example, distortions and avatars. You can do at least the avatar part or maybe the distortions part to an extent, but I don't think it's really valuable at the moment. It's only really good if you have certain Invasion Atlas bonuses for this class that would maybe either deal a great damage or just give some kind of a debuff or buff to your group, that the group or the boss will receive more damage than usual. So that would be the only way. But again, it's not just Revenant, it's a lot of default classes at this point had the same issue. But in order of the abilities like cooldowns and maybe damage wise, at least by the description, is good enough. In the future, I think this class will definitely gonna lack a lot of damage output, So definitely like the rest of it, of course, specifically the default classes that have been released since the game was released. But all in order of the cooldowns, everything is fine. You can actually get a lot of abilities pretty fast to do your rotation back again. Rotation as well is pretty simple for this class. I think this class is actually new player friendly, so it's not easy, not hard to learn, you know, how the abilities works and what order you're gonna have to use them. Pretty simple. Survivability is also really good, maybe not as best as the Groove Walker, of course. It's still, you know, for the new players, it still might work, and if you like something like a melee class like that, then you definitely, you know, it would work for you and you're definitely gonna enjoy playing this class. Right now, I think the class on the stage where you can only do pretty easy the daily stuff like directive, squad, group mission, invasion missions, all of that. But in order of the end game, I think, like I said earlier, it's only valuable if you have the invasion atlas bonuses. Weapons, it doesn't really rely on a weapon for at least like a daily stuff, at least for the new players. But the higher you go, if you wanted to do the bigger damage than if you wouldn't have the weapon, then of course the weapon will be just additional bonus to kind of boost that damage from that class. It's still not going to be as high as we want it to as players, but it's definitely going to be better than just using a purple weapon or just a regular legendary weapon. I don't think I can say anything else about this class. It is definitely fun to play, easy to learn the rotation, easy to use, new player friendly, and yeah, I think that would be all. Again, like I already mentioned, there's a few bad parts on this class just because it went through a lot of changes and nerfs. Maybe definitely need a little bit of work. If you have any suggestions on that class, if you already played this class or, you know, for a long time and you know how this class works and all that, definitely leave a comment down below and maybe give some suggestions, see if we can push it through, and maybe at some point, hopefully, developers will change some of it at least. But yeah, that would be all, guys, for this video. If you enjoyed it, if you liked it, please smash that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and activate notification bell that you're not gonna miss when I post new video or going live. Follow me on Twitter, join my Discord server. All the links in the description. Until the next time, take care.